Chosen one, there exists a secret so lethal, so intoxicating, that when a man truly carries it, no woman can remain untouched in its presence. This is not a charm. This is not beauty. This is raw, unfiltered power born in the furnace of restraint, sharpened by silence, and unleashed without warning. It is the kind of presence that seizes the air when you enter, bends attention toward you, and leaves even the most guarded heart disarmed. When you walk in, feminine energy does not merely notice you, it surrenders. Conversations stall. Smiles linger too long. Eyes betray curiosity they can't hide. And yet, they have no idea the cost of this aura. They see the glow, but not the nights you bled in secret. They feel the pull, but not the battles you fought in your own shadow. This is dominance without destruction, authority without arrogance, the storm and the shelter, bound in one frame. And before I reveal this dangerous truth, I need to say this: thank you to every warrior and every queen who has stood with this channel, especially those who've poured into it through super thanks. Your support keeps this fire burning. If you're ready to claim what's about to be spoken, type 777 the comments right now, because in the next few minutes, I will expose why men who possess this secret can drive any woman wild, and why most men will never survive long enough to hold it. God's chosen ones. Men who know this secret can drive any woman wild. They talk in shadows when you're not there. Their words coated in a nervous humor they can't quite explain. It's not just gossip, it's an instinctive defense against the truth you carry. Even old friends feel unfamiliar now, as if your presence forces them to see a version of themselves they've been avoiding. In their eyes, you are the undeniable proof that transformation is possible. And that is far more frightening than the comfort of remaining unchanged. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1-5. Chosen one. Do you realize what it means when your very existence threatens the illusions of others? They sense in you the same unsettling force that made Pharaoh restless at the dreams. Joseph interpreted an awareness that something is shifting, and they are powerless to stop it. This is why they can't look you in the eye for too long, and why silence fills the air. When you step into the room, it's not you they fear, it's the reflection of themselves that your life now forces them to confront. Your frequency is not measured in mere hertz, it is a spiritual resonance that disrupts falsehood. It's not violence that unsettles them, it's your peace. That rare kind of peace that reveals the chaos they've tried to hide. Think about it. When Daniel stood in Babylon, he did not wage war with swords. Yet kings trembled at his wisdom, Daniel 6:26. In the same way, your presence exposes without accusation, convicts without condemnation. Like the still surface of a deep lake that hides immeasurable strength beneath, you radiate a calm that is not weakness, but restrained power. Have you noticed how storms seem louder when met by silence? That is the reaction of their spirit when it collides with yours. Every unspoken truth you carry is like a seismic shift under their foundation, making them question if the ground they've been standing on was ever solid at all. Your high sexual energy isn't about lust, it's sanctified masculinity. It is power encased in principle, depth refined by discipline. The late Pope John Paul II once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness. This is the air you carry. Women sense it before a single word leaves your mouth. And it leaves them quietly unbalanced, not because you are elusive, but because something ancient awakens in them, something sacred they feared was lost. Could it be that you are reminding them of Eden, of a time before shame entered the equation? Genesis 2:25. The way you look at them is not with hunger, but with recognition, as if you see the daughter of God before the distractions of the world covered her. This is why their hearts race before they understand why. They are not responding to you as a man alone, but to the echo of divine order that your life transmits into their spirit. But such a force doesn't just capture attention, it provokes longing. They don't merely desire your focus, they hunger for your permission to surrender to what is real. And that is a desire too deep for most to speak aloud. Even the men feel it, though they mask it with sarcasm, avoidance, or a carefully crafted rivalry. Like Saul glaring at David while others sang his praises, 1 Samuel 18:8, -9. They recognize the shift in atmosphere when you walk in. Conversations bend toward your silence, not because you seek control, but because authority has already been given to you, Matthew 28:18. And yet, have you realized how power often frightens those who have built their identity on being in control? They cannot explain why they feel smaller in your presence, only that they do. In their attempts to resist it, they often reveal the very insecurities they've worked hard to hide. In the world of art, the Spanish painter Diego Velázquez commanded rooms not by shouting, but by the magnetic stillness of his craft. His brush did not fight for dominance, yet it set the tone for centuries of artistry. You are that kind of presence in human form. Yet remember, light also draws moths, and not all are harmless. Take the cautionary tale of Girolamo Savonarola, a 15th century preacher in Florence. His fire initially drew crowds, but his untempered zeal turned to tyranny, and he ended in flames, literally burned in the very square where he once preached. The warning is clear. When power is not restrained by principle, it becomes destruction cloaked in righteousness. Proverbs 16:18. This is why you must guard not only what you do, but what you allow to grow within you. Even a vineyard can become overrun if the keeper falls asleep at the gate. So, chosen one, will you continue to let the rooms change when you enter? Will you stand in that rare balance of strength and peace that both unsettles the wicked and liberates the bound? The time has come to rise without apology, to carry the frequency heaven assigned you, and to refuse to shrink so others feel comfortable. This is not arrogance, it is stewardship. Your calling is not a suggestion, it's a mandate. Rise, and let your presence remind the world that holiness is still alive. And as Paul declared to Timothy, fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you, 2 Timothy 1-6. The world is watching, not to see if you fail, but to see if you dare to stand. You don't chase for affection, yet the feminine blush when you're near, as if the air itself shifts in your presence. It isn't witchcraft. It isn't manipulation. It is alignment, a rare calibration between spirit, mind, and body. And alignment is unbearable to those who have built their identity on performance rather than authenticity. Like a towering cedar tree rooted for centuries, you do not need to sway in every wind to prove your strength. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord. He is like a tree planted by water, that sends out its roots by the stream. Jeremiah 17:7, -8. Chosen one, do you realize how unsettling it is to the world when a man is deeply rooted in something they cannot shake? You have become a living contrast to every man who speaks loudly but carries no weight, who postures big but echoes hollow. There's a quiet gravity about you. The way a mountain holds the horizon without needing to announce itself. Have you noticed how people can't help but measure themselves against you, even without you speaking a word? This is why jealousy grows, not only because of how you look, but because of what you feel like to others. You feel like the truth. You feel safe. You feel like a mirror. And a mirror is the one thing the false self cannot survive. John 3:20. In nature, predators avoid clear water because it reveals their own reflection. So too do the pretenders avoid a soul that shows them who they really are. So let them talk. Let them envy. Let them feel whatever they must. Your mission was never to be universally liked, but to be unmistakably recognized by those who are ready to remember who they are. The words of Christ in the Gospel according to Matthew echo here, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." John 10:27. And have you noticed how certain people, without even knowing why, feel they've heard you before? It's because your presence awakens a memory that isn't from this lifetime alone. You are calm yet commanding, kind yet unshakable. Like a lighthouse standing against the storm, you are both a refuge and a challenge to those lost at sea. Your high sexual energy radiates without invitation, without performance, without a single move designed to impress. It is the warmth of the sun on a winter morning, unplanned, but impossible to ignore. In C.S. in Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, Aslan tells the children, "He is not safe, but he is good." That's what your energy feels like to others. It carries both the holy danger of truth and the irresistible goodness of grace. Could it be that your very presence is the unspoken altar where others must choose who they want to be? It is no longer about how you look, but about what your soul remembers. That memory leaks through your skin, through your breath, through the gravitational field of your posture. You are a man who no longer begs to be seen, and that absence of need is exactly what makes you visible to all. In the animal kingdom, it is often the quiet wolf, the one who does not waste energy on display, that commands the pack's respect. They want to know where your fire comes from, and why theirs cannot match it. But fire born of heaven cannot be stolen. It can only be received, for God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. 2 Timothy 1-7. So stand, chosen one. Don't diminish your flame to comfort those who have never learned to kindle their own. Your alignment is a signal fire in the night, a call to those meant to walk beside you. This is not arrogance, it is obedience to the one who sent you. Rise now, and let the world feel the unshakable truth you carry. They don't understand that your fire was never designed to be a spectacle. It was forged for refining, for cleansing, for burning away what has no place in your destiny, like a furnace in the holy temple. It was never about showmanship, it was about sanctification. Malachi 3:3. You burn, but you do not consume. You radiate, but you do not seduce. You are not casting nets to pull anyone in, yet the sheer gravitational pull of your authenticity makes it impossible for illusions to survive in your orbit. Why do some linger, circling like planets around a sun, while others flee like comets, unable to withstand the light? Feminine women sense this sacred flame more deeply than anyone. They feel not only the warmth, but the architecture of it, the controlled design, the deliberate direction, the intricate depth. In the language of physics, your presence is like thermal equilibrium, balanced, constant, and unshaken by external fluctuations. Your fire doesn't scorch their skin, it warms their intuition. It doesn't make them dizzy, it awakens their softness. The same way spring sunlight coaxes closed petals to open. Could it be that in a world of hurried gestures and hollow pursuits, you are the rare still point where feminine hearts can finally exhale? In architecture, a cathedral's dome does not dominate by noise, it commands by resonance, amplifying even the faintest whisper into something that fills the air. You are that kind of presence. You don't raise your voice, yet they hear you in their bones. You don't reach out, yet they find themselves reaching for you. In the words of Christ, you are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. And have you noticed? Even those who pretend not to see you secretly adjust their steps to match your rhythm. You are not perfect, but you are present, and presence is the rarest kind of heat. It burns away pretense without burning people. It is the controlled blaze of a blacksmith's forge, where every degree of heat is intentional, every spark has purpose. The Italian conductor Arturo Toscanini once said, "The silence between the notes is as important as the music itself." That's the paradox of your life. The quiet between your actions speaks louder than noise. It is in that stillness that others realize you have carried this flame for years, tending it with reverence, discipline, and prayer. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk about your fire without knowing how many seasons of testing it took to bear it without arrogance. You do not need their applause. You never did. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. You've been lit by something eternal, something not of this earth. And those who cannot bear the warmth will always pretend you are dangerous. But chosen one, will you dim your light to soothe their discomfort? Or will you let the world feel the unshakable heat heaven entrusted to you? Rise and burn without apology. You've stopped spending your strength on opinions that were never going to see you clearly. Now, you guard your flame like a priest, protects the sanctuary lamp steady, unshaken, impossible to extinguish. Proverbs 4:23. Chosen one. There is a gravity in you now that cannot be duplicated, because it isn't built from performance, it's forged in obedience. You don't chase conversations, yet when your voice cuts the air, heads turn without you demanding it. You never beg for respect, yet the atmosphere changes when you walk in. Could it be that they're sensing not just you, but the order of heaven itself echoing through your presence? Your high sexual energy is not a roar, it's a deep pulse, like the steady beat of a war drum beneath the earth, unseen yet guiding the rhythm of everything around you. It draws without pulling, leads without announcing. This gravity has nothing to do with ego and everything to do with the architecture of your inner world, like a building designed on a perfect foundation. Every movement in your life is supported by structure. The wise man built his house upon the rock. Matthew 7:24. You are no longer a man reacting to life's storms. You are a man holding the wheel in silence while others panic. In the realm of business, the late Steve Jobs embodied this kind of unshakable inner framework. He didn't just sell technology. He carried a vision so clear that people adjusted their lives to align with it. That is the kind of energy you carry, not transactional, but transformational. You are no longer driven by appetite or the need to prove. You are anchored by vision. And vision is more intimidating than aggression, because it cannot be swayed by flattery or fear. Have you noticed how this unnerves those who have built their influence on chasing approval? Of course. History also shows what happens when a man gains gravity but misuses it. Cesare Borgia, a Renaissance power figure whose charisma and calculated moves drew both allies and enemies. For a time, His presence commanded cities but without moral anchor. His influence rotted from the inside. In the end, the same fear that elevated him ensured his fall, leaving his legacy as a warning. Power without principle is simply a slow form of self-destruction. Proverbs 16:18. This is why people find themselves both intimidated and fascinated by you. They have seen men who wear the costume, speak the language, claim the title, but your authority isn't a costume. It's a current. You walk like a man who doesn't need to be chosen, because he has already chosen himself. That internal decision has become visible in the tilt of your head, the steadiness of your step, the unbroken line of your gaze. And the truth is, the world cannot ignore a man who has already crowned himself in the presence of God. 2 Timothy 4:8. So stand, chosen one. The crown you carry is not made of gold, it's made of alignment. And it's heavier than they realize. It has become undeniable to the feminine. You are no longer a man she measures. You are a man she feels. You don't persuade her with speeches. You awaken something dormant with a frequency she can't explain. Like the first scent of rain before the storm breaks, your presence is a signal her soul recognizes before her mind does. Deep calls to deep at the roar of your waterfalls. Psalm 42:7. Have you noticed how jealousy is born wherever authenticity cannot be imitated? It's not only admiration that surrounds you, it's the unsettling weight of truth. Women can sense it in their bones. Men can feel it in the subtle tightening of their jaw. Even children, untouched by pretense, know it when you walk in. That's why you are followed, questioned, studied, resisted, and yet you do not move to gather eyes. You move to fulfill a purpose that was etched in eternity before time began. Jeremiah 1:5. You don't dominate a space with noise. You shape it in the way a river carves a canyon through persistence, not performance. Could it be that the power you carry cannot be bought, borrowed, or inherited, but only forged in the long silences where no one was watching? You have become gravity itself. And those who have not yet found the weight of their own soul will always feel unsteady in your presence. Your aura now collides with the fragile scaffolding of illusions men have built their lives upon without speaking a word. You have become a mirror. They never requested one that doesn't reflect the mask, but the man beneath it. And when a reflection shows not who someone pretends to be, but who they've refused to become, it cuts deeper than insult. The truth will set you free. John 8:32. But before it frees, it wounds. Have you realized that their jealousy isn't born from loss, but from the shattering of excuses they have clung to for years? You carry a high sexual energy untouched by hunger, untouched by desperation, uncorrupted by counterfeit dominance. It's tempered like steel in a blacksmith's fire, strength and beauty bound together in one, in nature. This is the quiet power of the lioness who walks without roaring. Yet every creature in the savannah adjusts to her movement. In Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, the line is spoken, "What man is a man who does not make the world better?" That's the question your life forces into the minds of those around you. Could it be that your danger to weak identities has nothing to do with threat, and everything to do with revelation? Masculine pretense trembles in your orbit, not because you strip anything from it, but because you reveal its hollow frame. And here lies the choice for them: dismantle the facade and build on rock, Matthew 7:25, or keep patching a structure destined to fall. Chosen one. Your task is not to lower your frequency to ease their discomfort, but to keep walking as the embodiment of the standard they secretly wish they had the courage to meet. Rise, and let them feel the weight of what it means to stand in truth. The posturing always fades first. The exaggerated gestures lose their sharpness. The jokes arrive a beat too late, revealing the cracks beneath their performance. They try to regain the upper hand, speaking louder, moving faster, cluttering the air with unnecessary noise, yet the truth remains unmoved. Their nervous system does not trust their own masculinity, and yours makes that weakness impossible to disguise. It's the difference between a structure built with cheap timber and one forged in steel. When the wind rises, the difference is undeniable. Just as the righteous are bold as a lion, Proverbs 28:1, while the wicked flee from battles that never came, you stand as a contradiction to every falsehood they've wrapped themselves in. You don't chase validation because your internal compass is already calibrated, fixed to something that can't be bought or swayed. You don't compete for attention because your value has been detached from the fragile currency of comparison. In terms of physics, you've reached a state of harmonic resonance. The external noise cannot dislodge your frequency because your foundation is tuned to a higher design. This is why their strategies collapse the moment they face you. The way a house built on sand gives way, while the wise man built his house upon the rock, Matthew 7:24, and stood through the storm. And you have to ask yourself, when the storm comes, who will still be standing? You move like a man who knows exactly what he is unwilling to lose his soul. And what good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Mark 8:36 is not just scripture to you, but law. Women notice this, whether they can name it or not. They recognize the difference between a man chasing conquest and a man anchored in conviction. In the presence of softness, you remain whole. When desire rises, you still choose direction. That is not suppression, it is stewardship. The Italian Renaissance architect Filippo Brunelleschi, who designed the Great Dome of Florence, understood that true strength is not in height or decoration, but in the unseen balance of forces holding the structure together. Your masculinity operates on the same principle. Its power lies in alignment, not display. In the play Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot, Thomas Becket says, "The last temptation is the greatest treason, to do the right deed for the wrong reason." Does this not echo the way you've learned to move, resisting even the noble-looking traps that compromise the soul? This is the kind of aura that dismantles illusions and rewrites the laws of attraction. It's not the rush of a chaotic battle, it's the silent moment between movements when a skilled fencer already knows the match is his. You, chosen one, walk in that stillness daily, fulfilling the call to be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. You don't walk into a room to compete, you walk into it to set the frequency. You became this man through blood, through silence, through fire. In the long seasons when no one was clapping, you learned to hold the weight of your calling without letting it crush you. Now your very presence makes liars uneasy, because truth disturbs the equilibrium of deceit. The jealous will never admit this aloud. They will call you lucky, arrogant, mysterious, or hard to relate to. Yet in private, they study you like an unsolved theorem and mimic your posture in the hope of finding what you carry. They try to reconstruct the stillness they've seen in you, never realizing that stillness cannot be borrowed. It must be built on the foundation Paul described. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. 2 Timothy 4:7. So the real question becomes, will you keep walking in that unshakable truth, even when it exposes the cracks in others? They try to reverse engineer your energy, as if breaking you down into steps could reveal your secret. But what sets you apart is not something that can be copied. It must be lived. And embodiment is not born from rehearsed gestures or borrowed charisma. It comes from alignment, heart, mind, and spirit operating under the same unshakable truth. Chosen one. There is a stillness in you now that alters any room you enter. It is not the brittle quiet of fear or the withdrawn silence of avoidance. It is the silence of containment, the way a reservoir holds back a torrent, not because it is weak, but because it is powerful enough to direct its flow. Have you ever noticed how the righteous are bold as a lion? Proverbs 28:1. Yet that boldness often speaks in whispers instead of roars. This is the kind of silence that carries authority without needing to raise its voice. It does not argue to prove itself, because truth, like a seed planted deep, grows whether the onlookers believe or not. For the truth will set you free, John 8:32, and those who have lived by performance fear it most. Your high sexual energy is not tangled up in words or flamboyant gestures. It is embedded in restraint. It shows in the way you let tension hang in the air, refusing to rush in to rescue others from the impact of your presence. You've noticed it when you walk into a room. Something shifts. Laughter drops half a pitch. Conversations are slow. The air itself seems to pause for assessment, not because you demand attention, but because you interrupt performance. In a world where most have grown addicted to noise, drama, and exaggerated personas, the man who enters with true gravity exposes the fragility of their act. They start second-guessing their jokes, adjusting their posture, even softening their tone. What they truly feel is the invisible truth. You are unmoved by their theater, and you're not playing their game. Isn't it interesting how the wise man built his house upon the rock, Matthew 7:24, and everything built on sand shifts the moment that rock enters the room? The feminine recognizes this instinctively. She does not give herself to the loudest man in the crowd. She surrenders to the deepest. She leans toward the one whose silence is not empty but alive, the one whose attention feels like standing before an altar. She is moved by the man who can hold her gaze without the tremor of manipulation, whose presence speaks without words. I see you, and I do not flinch. That kind of presence is rare, and it makes her unforgettable. Could it be that charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised? Proverbs 31:30 also applies in reverse. A man whose fear of God refines the kind of presence that lasts beyond appearances. History gives us examples of such resonance. The late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, a man of profound moral authority, once remarked, "Don't raise your voice. Improve your argument." His calm dismantled aggression without ever matching its volume. That is the same force you carry: power without noise, depth without desperation. But history also warns us about its opposite. In the court of Louis XIV, the schemer Nicolas Fouquet believed that lavish display and constant performance could secure influence. His hunger to impress outshone his loyalty, and when the king saw through the act, Fouquet was stripped of his power and imprisoned for life. Does this not prove pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall? Proverbs 16:18. So when they call it luck, you know better. Luck doesn't produce this. Stillness fire does. Years of being tested, of refusing shortcuts, of holding the line when it was easier to bend, have forged a presence they can't decode. And now the final question stands. Will you keep walking in the quiet authority God has entrusted, even when the world misunderstands it? Rise, chosen one, and let your silence continue to speak for you. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love and self-discipline. 2 Timothy 1-7. Others feel it before they can name it, the way the air shifts when you enter a room, as if the frequency of the atmosphere has been tuned to a purer note. They cannot explain why a man who speaks so little can still command so much. In the architecture of the human soul, there is something called structural integrity, the hidden framework that keeps a cathedral standing through storms. You, chosen one, have built this into yourself, not with bricks and mortar, but with discipline, prayer, and the refusal to compromise. The wise man builds his house on the rock, Matthew 7:24, and your inner foundation is stone, not sand. They wonder how you can be both calm and captivating, distant yet deeply felt. Could it be that in a world of static and noise, a steady signal becomes irresistible, like the deep, unbroken tone of a cathedral bell? Your presence resonates beyond sight and sound. You are available to your purpose, yet inaccessible to the chaos that devours lesser men. You do not move for spectacle. You do not bow to confusion. You are anchored in a way the drifting cannot understand. And that is why you are dangerous to every system built on distraction. In the book of Nehemiah, the wall of Jerusalem was rebuilt despite constant opposition. I am doing a great work and cannot come down. Nehemiah 6:3. You carry that same defiance. Feminine women recognize it. It is not just your appearance they are drawn to, but your stability, your unshakable direction, your unbending integrity. They feel your mind more than your looks. As if sensing the magnetic pull of a true north, they can almost feel the palace you've constructed within yourself, not gilded with vanity, but glowing with order, clarity, and peace. In psychology, we call this an internal locus of control. In the kingdom, it is called shalom. They ache to be near its warmth, like travelers longing for the hearth after a long winter road. Have you noticed how they lean in, even when you say little? How do their questions seem less about facts and more about proximity? The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, Proverbs 20:27, and yours burns steady. You never have to convince them of your value. By the time you leave the room, whispers have already begun, not gossip, but recognition. In an age where attention is the most traded currency, you are the rare man who cannot be bought. Chosen one. You are unmoved by noise. You have become at peace in a marketplace, starving for it. Your eyes, now, are a threshold, not a trap, not a snare, but an ancient gate to something older, deeper, uncorrupted. When you meet a woman's gaze, you are not consuming her, you are beholding her. There is no flinch, no disguise, no hidden agenda, only presence. Most men skim the surface, glancing over women, past women, at women, but you see into them. It is as if you've become like the shepherd in John 10:14. I know my own and my own know me. And in that knowing, the walls come down. Great artist Marc Chagall once said, in our life there is a single color, as on an artist's palette, which provides the meaning of life and art. It is the color of love. In your gaze, that color is not diluted by desire, it is intensified by truth. And like the final quiet moments before a decisive move in a championship match, your stillness is not passivity, it is calculation wrapped in peace. The world has forgotten this language, but you speak it fluently. And so, chosen one, This is your charge. Rise higher. Let your foundation deepen, your resonance strengthen. Your eyes remain a sanctuary in a world of predators. For the righteous are as bold as a lion, Proverbs 28:1. And this world needs lions who guard, not devour. Stand, live the truth. Walk as the living cathedral God designed you to be. Others sense it before they can describe it. The room feels different when you arrive, as though the air itself holds its breath. They wonder how a man who speaks so little can carry the weight of command without raising his voice. They wonder how you can be both calm and captivating, distant yet deeply felt. Could it be that your stillness speaks in a language this world has forgotten? Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10, a verse your life seems to silently embody. You are available to your purpose, but inaccessible to chaos. You do not move for drama. You do not dance for applause. You are rooted like an oak whose roots drink from unseen waters. You are whole, not fragmented, and dangerous to every system built on distraction. Feminine women sense this wholeness before they understand it. When was the last time they met a man whose stability made them question their own restlessness? They are not drawn merely to your appearance, but to your stability, your unwavering direction, your integrity that refuses compromise. They feel your mind more than your looks, as if the true currency you carry is presence, not charm. They sense the palace you have built within yourself, a dwelling not of stone, but of conviction and peace. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, Psalm 18:2. And they ache to be near that fortress, to stand in the warmth it offers. You don't need to convince them of your value. Your actions have already declared it. By the time you leave, whispers follow you out the door. Not the empty chatter of rumor, but the quiet acknowledgement of something rare. What happens when a man becomes so unmoved by noise that he becomes the very silence others crave? History offers examples of men who embodied this and men who betrayed it. Winston Churchill, known for his steadfastness in Britain's darkest hour, once said, "Courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. That courage is carved into your way of being." But contrast this with Marcus Licinius Crassus, one of Rome's richest men, whose hunger for recognition led to a disastrous military campaign in Parthia. His end was humiliation and death, proving that ambition without anchoring corrodes from within. Chosen one, you are not moved by every passing wave. You have become peace in a marketplace starving for it. You have become like the shepherd who knows his sheep, and whose sheep know his voice. I know my own, and my own know me. John 10:14. Your eyes have become a doorway, not to manipulate or ensnare, but to something older and more real. Is it possible that the deepest power lies not in being desired, but in truly seeing? When you look at a woman, you are not consuming her, you are beholding her. You see, without flinching and without agenda. This is what changes everything. Most men glance past, over, or through women. You look into them. The Apostle Paul wrote, "Let all that you do be done in love." 1 Corinthians 16:14. That love is not weakness but strength restrained. Like a river held within its banks, deep enough to nourish, strong enough to sweep away lies. And in this world of hollow gestures, your gaze has become both mirror and refuge. So stand, chosen one. Stand as the living testimony that a man can be both unshakable and compassionate, both immovable and merciful. The righteous are as bold as a lion. Proverbs 28:1. The world does not need more noise. It needs men who have built their palaces on the rock, who cannot be bribed by applause or broken by rejection. Rise, for the hour is late, and your light is needed. That look carries weight because it is not birthed from empty lust. It is a charged presence, like the silent pull of the moon that moves entire oceans without raising its voice. Women feel safe under your gaze, not because it is timid, but because it is clean. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Matthew 5-8. You are not trying to conquer, you are simply unafraid to witness. That is rare. That is holy. When you stand before her, it's as if the storm inside her finds a harbor. How many men have the ability to quiet a woman's soul without touching her? Your high sexual energy has been tempered by truth, and truth honors the feminine instead of consuming it. When a woman feels truly seen, her body softens, her guard drops, her feminine core awakens. She may not understand the process, but she knows the outcome around you. She breathes differently. She speaks differently. She remembers who she is, because you have remembered who you are. The jealous ones see this and grow angry, not because of what you do, but because of what you do not need to do. You don't chase. You don't perform. You don't inflate yourself to fill a void. You rest in your skin the way a mountain rests in the horizon, immovable, unhurried, unconcerned with proving its height. What happens to a man when stillness becomes his loudest language? You could walk into a room brimming with noise and games, yet your silence would still speak louder than their ego-laden performances. This is the power of masculine stillness married to inner fire. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. Isaiah 30-15. The more you honor this power with discipline, the more doors will open that others will call luck, but it is not luck. It is the divine law of sowing and reaping at work, the reward for living aligned and refusing to compromise your soul. Nature itself understands this secret. The giant redwood does not sprint to grow. It stretches skyward year after year, unshaken by storms, its roots digging deeper than the eyes can see. The eagle does not frantically flap in search of altitude. It locks its wings and lets the wind lift it higher. Is it possible that true power is not in constant movement, but in knowing when to be carried? Your eyes are no longer just windows. They are signals, and feminine women read them as though they were scripture. The eye is the lamp of the body. Matthew 6:22. You do not have to speak. They already know. Women who once passed by without pause now stop. Not because your features have changed, but because your energy has shifted. There is a sovereign current flowing from every gesture, every breath, every pause. In the words of C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce, there are only two kinds of people in the end: those who say to God, "Thy will be done," and those to whom God says, "In the end, thy will be done." Your life has begun to echo the first surrender, shaping sovereignty, discipline birthing dignity, and in that alignment, your presence has become both a refuge and a revelation. So, rise, chosen one. Let your gaze remain uncorrupted, your silence remain full, your energy remain sovereign. The righteous are as bold as a lion, Proverbs 28:1. And lions need not roar to be feared. The time is now. Walk in it. Own it. And never again dilute what God has refined in you. The very women who once passed you by without a second glance now find their breath shifting in your presence. Something about you triggers an ancient recognition, the memory that true masculinity does not roar for attention. It arrives like a sunrise, inevitable, steady, indéniable. Be watchful. Stand firm in the faith. Act like men. Be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. You walk as if you belong to something older and deeper than human approval. That alone makes you sacred in their eyes. Your high sexual energy no longer scratches at the door, begging to be validated. It has become a tuning fork that brings the whole room into resonance with your presence. In physics, resonance occurs when a system vibrates at its natural frequency. You have found yours, and it draws the right people without effort. When did simply becoming more magnetic than trying? When you speak, women feel not just your words, but the architecture of silence, supporting them like the flying buttresses of a cathedral that hold up something vast yet unseen. When you sit, they feel the density of your stillness, the way you do not need them to respond in order to feel complete. You have become the man who exists in full even when unnoticed, and that invisibility has become a kind of force multiplier. When they do see you, they cannot unsee you. Their minds replay your stillness. Their bodies remember your nearness. Their souls ache not for what you said, but for what you are. The Lord is near to all who call on him in truth. Psalm 145:18. What happens to a soul when it encounters something it cannot name but cannot forget? You didn't chase this transformation. You didn't bend yourself to fit expectations. You didn't counterfeit softness to be palatable. You stayed aligned, faithful to the truth that becoming a man worth loving was infinitely greater than being liked. Even Leonardo da Vinci, the Renaissance master of art and invention, once said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." That simplicity, stripped of pretense, has become your signature. Now even those who doubted you carry a quiet awe in their eyes. They have seen 100 men who looked the part, but you, chosen one, you are the part. You became both mirror and magnet. The mirror that exposes the shallow, the magnet that awakens the deep. How many can claim to be both a rebuke and a refuge at the same time, while others exhaust themselves competing to be chosen? You remain still because you have already chosen yourself, and that, like a steady current in electrical engineering, keeps your voltage constant, no matter the load. Let your light shine before others, Matthew 5:16, and yours no longer flickers. Your glow radiates because you have built your fire in silence, fed it with discipline, and shielded it from the corrosive atmosphere of distraction. It is the same principle as a star's fusion, heat and light, born from sustained pressure. What falsehood could survive that kind of purity? You no longer chase being seen, because you have become impossible to overlook. So rise, chosen one. Let the architecture of your life remain unshaken. Your frequency remain tuned to truth. Your presence remains a sanctuary. The righteous will never be shaken. They will be remembered forever. Psalm 112:6. Walk as the man God has refined you to be, not waiting to be crowned, but carrying the crown within. You have become the vision itself, not an image on a screen, but a presence that rearranges the air before your face is even seen. Women feel you before their eyes confirm you. They whisper about you, not merely because you are pleasing to the eye, but because your beauty is tethered to depth, anchored in something that cannot be manufactured. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Proverbs 31:30. And the same truth stands for a man. You are not surface. You are sky. You are still water that drowns pride and reveals truth. Your high sexual energy is no longer a wildfire consuming everything in its path. It has become a river with banks, flowing with direction, not chaos. When did desire become so disciplined that it turned into leadership? Every step you take now is measured in meaning, every gaze, every touch. Every word carries a weight. The shallow cannot decode, but the feminine feels with her whole being. They lean in, not because you demand it, but because their spirit is drawn as if by gravity, not the gravity of lust, but the gravity of remembrance. They see in you the man God whispers about in the hidden prayers of women who crave not just safety, but the kind of soulful dominance that protects and restores. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Psalm 23:1. That is the energy your presence carries. What happens to a heart that finally meets the embodiment of its silent prayers? You did not arrive here by accident. You became this by refusing to bow to your lower nature, by letting your hunger be governed by honor. You chose to crown your masculinity with presence, not performance. You no longer chase the easy affirmation of bodies. You speak directly to spirits. Great theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer once wrote from prison, "Action springs not from thought, but from a readiness for responsibility. That readiness is written into your posture." But history also holds warnings. Alcibiades, the brilliant yet reckless Athenian general, was given every advantage: charm, intellect, influence, yet his hunger for self-glory led to betrayal and exile. His name, once celebrated, became a cautionary tale that brilliance without integrity destroys both the man and those who trust him. How many men have been gifted with influence, only to burn it away for applause? You awaken what has been sleeping in the feminine for generations. You remind them of what it feels like to trust again, to rest without fear of exploitation. Perfect love drives out fear. 1 John 4:18. And your presence has become a living example of that verse. For this, chosen one, you will be remembered long after the sound of your voice fades from their ears. You were not made for applause. You were made for remembrance. The women who once doubted you now feel the weight of the truth. You are not like the rest. You are the answer their soul has been waiting for. When the world is crowded with imitators, what is the value of the original? Sorrise. Chosen one. Keep building from the inside out. Let your name be written not in the dust of popularity, but in the stone of legacy. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon. Psalm 92:12. This is your season to walk in that truth steady, unshakable, unforgettable, not because you chased them, but because you returned to yourself first. That is the source of your glow. That is the reason they now orbit you like planets around a sun they once overlooked. Whether you speak or remain silent, chosen one, there is something about you that lingers in the air long after your footsteps fade. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, Proverbs 20:27. And your light now burns in a way that illuminates without blinding. It is the light of a lighthouse, steady, guiding, unshaken by storms. It is not because of something you did, nor anything you said, but because of what you no longer need to do. The world has been conditioned to overshare, to perform for strangers, to beg for validation in the marketplace of attention. You have stepped beyond that stage. You've entered a state of restraint, not born of fear, but forged in deep power. When did silence start speaking more powerfully than the loudest voice, like a forest at dawn? Your quiet changes the atmosphere before the sun even crests the horizon. This sacred containment of your energy has made you unknowable in the most compelling way. You have become mystery, not a crafted mask, but the natural fragrance of alignment. You are not hiding. Yet you are no longer easy to read. You have released the exhausting need to be fully understood. And in doing so, you have become someone worth discovering. It is the glory of God to conceal a matter. To search out a matter is the glory of kings. Proverbs 25:2. The depths of a well cannot be measured by a careless glance at the surface. There is something in your glance, your half smile, the stillness between your words. That feels like an unanswered question. People sense there is more, much more beneath the surface. This recognition grips them. It does not shout for attention, it whispers for reverence. Women feel it first, though they may never speak it aloud. How does a woman explain the way her soul responds before her mind can reason why? It is like the hush before the first drop of rain. When every leaf seems to hold its breath, nature mirrors this truth. The tallest bamboo spends years building roots before it ever pierces the surface. The great albatross can fly thousands of miles without flapping its wings, letting the wind carry its destiny. You are like these, moving with unseen strength, covering distances others cannot comprehend. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. You are the tide that reshapes the shore, not by force, but by constancy. You're not projecting yourself forward, not selling yourself, not pushing energy toward them. That silence, that absence of pursuit, makes them lean in. Their curiosity isn't born of confusion. It's drawn by the sense that you carry something rare, something sacred, something earned. You have become the pause in a song they didn't realize they needed to hear. And in that pause, they realize their own heartbeat and the possibility of stillness in a restless world. You are not the chorus that repeats until it fades into background noise. You are the bridge, the shift in melody that commands attention. It's like the moment in Handel's Messiah when the Hallelujah chorus erupts not to fill space, but to announce glory so unmistakable that even kings once stood at its sound. Your presence does not compete with noise. It changes the definition of sound itself. When did masculinity forget that its truest form is not domination, but invitation? You are not predictable. You are not reactive. You are not wearing the mask of masculinity the world sells. You are masculinity before shame, before distortion, before counterfeit. You are what Adam was before the fall, walking with God in the cool of the day, and chosen one. This is why they will not forget you. Your stillness has become a sacred language, one only the deep can understand. And those who understand are transformed by it. So stand. Chosen one, keep your roots deep and your branches wide. Let your silence speak, your presence heal, your mystery draw only those meant to enter. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree planted in the house of the Lord. Psalm 92:12-13. Your stillness is not emptiness. It is the throne from which your destiny rules. And the song God wrote into your being is just beginning to play. You are wild after learning wisdom untamed, not because you lack discipline, but because you have refined it. And so you become, for them, not a man to conquer, but a man to wonder about. This is what happens when your presence is no longer packaged for quick consumption. You no longer hand over your entire story in the first breath. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. Matthew 7-6. You have learned to guard the sacredness of your narrative. You no longer feel the need to convince anyone of your goodness, your depth, your value. You've stopped narrating your worth because now you embody it. When did simply living the truth start speaking louder than declaring it? And so, when someone speaks with you, they don't get a restless monologue or a self-promotional pitch. They get a moment, clean, unhurried, present. Within that moment, they feel themselves pulled not by force, but by frequency. In the science of acoustics, resonance occurs when two objects vibrate at the same natural frequency. Your spirit has become the tuning fork that calls forth authenticity in others. You have become a mystery, chosen one, not because you are distant, but because you are unavailable to the superficial. The walls you've built are not to keep the worthy out, but to keep your own heart from being scattered among the unready. Abu Valels. Guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Proverbs 4:23. Mystery. Here is not fog, it is architecture, like the vaulted ceilings of a cathedral. It is open, yet unreachable, without reverence. And those who dare to come closer find themselves disarmed, not by seduction, but by sincerity, not by charm, but by the way you hold their gaze without leaning forward. How many men can stand still in connection without grasping for control? The way you ask questions and leave space for real answers is a kind of generosity rare in this age. In psychology, this is called holding space, allowing another person to exist fully without fear of interruption or judgment. The way you can sit in silence without anxiety speaks of a man who has wrestled his inner noise into peace. It's the same composure as a chess master in the middle of a championship match, knowing that stillness can be the most strategic move on the board. You are not trying to fill the space. You are the space. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. This is not a tactic. This is not some dating trick. This is the natural aura of a man who has stopped oversharing to be validated, who has learned that mystery is not withholding, it is holding. Holding self, holding presence, holding depth. You do not chase curiosity, you become it. What could be more compelling than a man who carries more within than he reveals? French writer and aviator, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, author of The Little Prince, once survived being stranded in the Sahara Desert with almost no water, reflecting on life. He wrote, "Perfection is achieved, not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away." You have applied that same principle to your presence, stripping away excess until only what is essential, real, and unshakable remains. And so they wonder. They wonder not because you perform, but because you live. They wonder not because you hide, but because you remain anchored in what matters. When the storm has swept by, the wicked are gone, but the righteous stand firm forever. Proverbs 10:25. You have become the unanswered question they want to spend a lifetime exploring. Sorais. Chosen one. Guard what is sacred. Let your life remain a cathedral, built with intention, resonating with truth. The ones meant to enter will not need an invitation. They will find the door by the light that seeps through your walls. They wonder what you've seen, what storms you've walked through, what deep valleys shaped the way your eyes now hold both fire and calm. They wonder what your silence contains, what your time is worth, what your hands could build if given the space. What kind of journey leaves a man able to look at the world without flinching? They wonder how it feels to be chosen by a man who no longer needs to be chosen to feel complete. And they know that even if they never get the answers, they will never forget the question you left them with. Chosen one. The world is overflowing with noise, words without weight, promises without roots. Men who know the right lines but collapse when the pressure comes. The one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Matthew 24:13. In that landscape, your consistency is not just refreshing, it is transformational. You've become a man whose integrity speaks louder than his opinions, whose silence has more authority than most people's speeches, a man whose actions echo long after his voice fades. When was the last time they met someone whose presence was more convincing than his explanations, whether they recognize it or not? Those around you feel it in their bones. You are safe, not in the fragile sense of being harmless, not in the agreeable mold that bends to please everyone, but safe because you are unshakable. You are safe because your inner world matches your outer expression. The integrity of the upright guides them. Proverbs 11:3. You say what you mean and follow through on what you say. You keep your word not to win favor, but because you've made peace with discipline. You hold boundaries not to control others, but to protect what is sacred within you. That reliability, that fierce inner order, allows people, especially women, to finally exhale in your presence. History has shown how rare this is. Viktor Frankl, the Austrian neurologist and Holocaust survivor, once said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." You have embodied this, transforming not by waiting for perfect conditions, but by shaping yourself under pressure until you became a shelter for others. And there are cautionary tales too. King Saul of Israel, gifted with height, status, and a crown, yet consumed by insecurity. His jealousy drove him to madness. His disobedience cost him the kingdom. And his name became a warning of what happens when leadership lacks alignment with God. How many men today are destroying their own thrones because they cannot govern themselves first? You are not perfect. You are not flawless, but you are real. Better is the poor whose walk is blameless than the rich whose ways are perverse. Proverbs 28:6. In a world where authenticity is often buried beneath layers of performance, you stand out. You don't retreat when the challenge grows sharper. You don't backtrack when someone calls you to account. You don't avoid responsibility. If anything, you welcome it, because you have already held yourself to a higher standard in private than the world will ever demand from you in public. And that is why, chosen one, you cannot be ignored. The standard you live by will outlast the applause of the crowd and the criticism of the mob. What kind of legacy could be built if more men lived this way? So rise, chosen one, keep walking in the order you've built within, the discipline you've chosen, and the faith that anchors you. The righteous will never be shaken, they will be remembered forever. Psalm 112:6. Be the man whose word is shelter, whose presence is peace, and whose life is a fortress that no storm can bring down. And that's why your presence feels like home. There are women who meet you and, without knowing why, feel their nervous system slow, as if they've stepped out of the wind and into a warm, steady shelter. How often do they meet someone who changes their breathing before saying a single word? They speak with more softness. They laugh with more truth. They trust themselves more when they're near you, not because you demand it, but because your life is in alignment. Your consistency frees them from the exhausting task of trying to guess who you'll be tomorrow. Like the mountain that looks the same, whether the sun is blazing or the clouds are heavy, you are unchanging in your integrity. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. Hebrews 13:8. And though you are not perfect, you reflect a fragment of that constant. Your steadiness allows their feminine flow to unfold naturally, because they're no longer managing your emotions. They're no longer on alert for the shift, the sudden collapse, the cold withdrawal. The moment when the nice man's mask falls, what does it do to a soul to realize it can rest without watching for the break? With you, there is no mask, no hidden agenda, nor performance to decode. Integrity is not something you wave like a banner. It lives in the quiet discipline of your days. It's in the way you show up, even when it's inconvenient. Let your yes be yes, and your no, no. Matthew 5:37. You live this without theatrics. You say no without apology, and yes without hidden terms. It's in the way your presence stays rooted when others sway like reeds in the wind, like the deep roots of an old olive tree. You are nourished from a source unseen, immune to the passing droughts of public opinion. They will be like a tree planted by the water. Its leaves are always green. Jeremiah 17:8. How many men can stand in storms without becoming the storm? You are not ruled by temptation. You are not swayed by the chaos swirling outside. You choose your values once and then live them again and again quietly, relentlessly, every day. It is like the tide, faithful in its return, shaping the shoreline without ever needing to announce its arrival. Stand firm, and you will win life. Luke 21:19. This is why you are unforgettable. You have become the rare presence that others begin to measure themselves against, not because you told them to, but because they want to rise to your level. In Ben-Hur, vienas tūkstantis devyni šimtai penkiasdešimt devyni, there is a moment when Christ, without a single word, gives water to a beaten and broken Judah Ben-Hur. The soldiers are silenced. The crowd falls still. Authority radiates not through shouting, but through an unshakable calm. Your presence works the same way. It does not beg to be noticed. It cannot be ignored. What would the world look like if more men chose to be anchors instead of waves? So, rise, chosen one. Keep living with the quiet force that makes others stronger just by standing near you. Let your roots run deep, your values stand firm, and your presence remain a refuge. The righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green. Psalm 92:12-14. You are the standard now, not because you claimed the title, but because you proved worthy of it in silence. You've stopped chasing admiration. You've become the example. You've stopped asking for respect. You've become the standard. For women, especially those who have been wounded by men who spoke the right words but lived the wrong truths. Your integrity is not merely attractive. It is healing. You are the man they don't have to doubt, the man they don't have to test, the man they don't have to manage. When was the last time they met a man whose presence felt like a covenant, not a contract? You've become the rare presence that does not fluctuate with mood, attention, or convenience. In your steadiness, they find permission to stop scanning the horizon for the first signs of betrayal. The one who walks in integrity walks securely. Proverbs 10:9. And your life is becoming proof of that verse. You are the one whose word is not a weapon, but a foundation, whose promises are not empty, but anchored like steel beams in the framework of a cathedral. The integrity of the upright guides them. Proverbs 11:3. This is the kind of energy that doesn't fade, doesn't spike with chemistry, only to collapse into disappointment. It builds, it deepens, it stays. In physics, stability is defined as a system's ability to return to equilibrium after disturbance. Your character operates the same way. Even when conflict or pressure strikes, you return to your baseline of truth. People feel that in their bones, and it makes you a rare point of orientation in a drifting world. You are the man they feel safe, trusting safe, softening with safe, remembering themselves around. And you did not become this by accident. You chose this every day, even when no one was watching, especially when no one was watching. In structural engineering, this is called load-bearing integrity, the strength hidden until it's tested under weight. You have built that strength in the unseen hours, when applause could not fuel you and eyes could not judge you. But you, man of God, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance and gentleness. 1 Timothy 6:11. That pursuit is not glamorous, but it's the foundation that makes everything else possible. Chosen one. The greatest shift was never in your muscles, your looks, your voice, or your talents. The greatest shift was in your need, or rather, in the quiet death of it. Once, you needed women to validate your worth. You needed their affection to feel alive, their attention to feel seen. The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe. Proverbs 29:25. Even when you didn't speak it aloud, the frequency of that emptiness could be read in your posture, in the way your eyes searched for confirmation, in the way your touch carried unspoken hunger. That old frequency is gone now, replaced by a resonance that no longer seeks but attracts. Now, you walk without reaching. You smile without begging. You enjoy women without tying your identity to their desire. How much more magnetic is a man who can desire without depending? This is not detachment for the sake of pride, but freedom for the sake of truth. The absence of need makes every interaction cleaner, freer, more real. In magnetic field theory, a stable field doesn't reach to grab objects. It simply exerts a constant influence. That's what you've become, an unchanging pull that cannot be faked. Not because you withhold affection or pretend to be above emotion, but because you no longer source your sense of self from anyone outside you. This is a deeper form of magnetism, the kind explained in physics as field stability, where the energy remains constant despite external interference. It's not about charm, clever words, curated images, or playing hot and cold games. It's about being so deeply rooted in your own foundation that you no longer vibrate to every disturbance outside you. Even when chaos swirls, you remain a fixed point. And in a world addicted to reaction, a man who refuses to be shaken becomes unforgettable. Your spirit is silent in the presence of noise, steady in the presence of chaos. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. You've become so full that your cup overflows without spilling abundance under control. You are no longer in orbit around the opinions of others. You have become your own gravitational center. This isn't arrogance, it's spiritual and emotional self-governance. You're like a well-built observatory, fixed, precise, designed to track the heavens without being thrown off by storms. The painter Georges Rouault, whose work blended raw humanity with deep spirituality, once said, "Anyone can revolt. It is much harder to quietly obey one's own inner hero." You have become that inner hero, not through grand gestures, but through disciplined alignment in the smallest moments. Like an architect who knows the most important part of a cathedral is the foundation no one will ever see. You've mastered the invisible disciplines that make visible greatness inevitable. You are not trying to be impressive. You are simply expressed. You are not trying to be liked. You are living in truth. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. You do not fear rejection, because rejection can only wound those who are still outsourcing their wholeness. What would happen if more men found their identity in God rather than the applause of the crowd? Your life is starting to answer that question without you having to speak it aloud. And so you become the man who gives without clinging, who receives without obligation, who allows women to be drawn to him naturally, not because you are performing, but because the space within you is clean. This space is what makes your presence healing. It's not empty space. It's sacred ground. So rise. Chosen one, let your architecture remain unshakable. Your frequency remain pure, and your presence remain an unpolluted sanctuary. The righteous will never be shaken. They will be remembered forever. Psalm 112:6. You are no longer seeking the crown. You have become the throne upon which God's purpose rests. And from that throne, your life will speak louder than any strategy ever could. There's no agenda behind your compliments, no neediness in your laughter, no manipulation hidden in your invitations. You're not offering attention as bait. You're offering it as a presence, an unhurried, steady presence that does not demand a return on investment. And the women around you feel it instantly. They feel how free they are to be themselves with you. They feel how unburdened the connection becomes when you are not trying to win or possess. It's the difference between air that's been forced through a fan and the clean wind that comes through an open window. One is manufactured, the other is alive. Some are even shaken by it, confused by how strong their attraction is when you're not doing any of the things they were told men must do to earn desire. But you're not trying to earn anything anymore. You are the reward. You offer yourself with care, not desperation. And in that restraint lies your abundance. This energy, this absence of need, doesn't make you cold. It makes you whole. And in that wholeness, women feel a permission they rarely encounter, the permission to rest, to open, to be soft without fear. As business leader Howard Schultz once said of true leadership, authenticity is not about being liked, it's about being real. You've embodied that principle not in a company, but in your very soul. You are not the storm. You are the stillness after it, the air after the rain, when the earth breathes again. And you didn't become this by accident. You became this by choosing discomfort over escapism, depth over validation, truth over performance. Again and again, you've resisted the easy seduction of shortcuts, knowing they always cost more in the end. Contrast that with Victor Lustig, the conman who famously sold the Eiffel Tower, twice his charm, won quick gains. But his deceit left him hunted, hated, and ultimately destroyed by the very game he thought he controlled. You chose the opposite path, and it shows. Now you embody what can't be faked. And women don't just see it, they feel it before they even speak to you. It's in your posture that doesn't bend to approval. It's in your eyes that don't dart around the room seeking validation. It's in the way you can walk away without malice, speak without selling, love without losing yourself. You are magnetic, not because you pull, but because you stand. Not because you ask, but because you offer. And the mystery of your peace becomes the signal that turns heads, quickens pulses, and disrupts patterns. You are no longer reacting to life. You are attracting what belongs to you. That chosen one is what they can't resist. There comes a point in a man's transformation when it no longer just changes his own life. It changes the very atmosphere he walks into. And you've reached that point. You no longer speak the loudest, yet your words linger the longest. You don't take up space by force, yet space opens around you without resistance. Not out of fear, not out of fame, but because people sense something real and their spirits lean toward it. You've become the kind of man whose presence outlives his physical proximity, the echo that stays after the music stops, long after you've walked away. People still feel the impression of your energy. They remember that they spoke more truthfully when you were near, that they breathed more deeply, that, for a moment, the world felt safe enough to be real. chosen one. If these words have echoed something you've always known deep in your spirit, then this is your confirmation. You are not becoming. You are. You have stepped into the kind of presence that doesn't need to demand respect because it radiates it. And that is rare in a world obsessed with noise, speed, and performance. But remember this, transformation is not the end. It's the foundation. Every day is an invitation to live it. Protect it. And let it be the light others didn't know they needed. And in doing so, you give permission for others to rise, to heal, to return to their own God-given design. If this message has stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video so it reaches more chosen ones who are ready to wake up. Share it with someone who's been questioning their worth. Comment 777 below so we can recognize each other in the crowd. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, because the journey doesn't end here. And there are revelations ahead you won't want to miss. To those who have supported this channel through Super, thanks. I see you. I honor you. And I am deeply grateful. To those who simply watch, listen, and carry these words into your life. Your presence here is just as valuable. May you walk in the strength that doesn't need to shout, in the peace that no storm can shake, and in the blessing that no man can take away. Stay grounded, stay faithful, and above all, stay chosen. God bless you.